Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Moonbuilders Workshop, the 1st of September. Today, we're joined by Marek from Ethworks. If this is your first Moonbuilders Workshop, we're so glad that you joined us, and we hope that you enjoy the session and that you'll join us for a future one as well. Kathy from the Moonbeam team organizes these sessions, these fantastic workshops about once a month. Many of you probably already know about Moonbeam, but if you don't, Moonbeam is an Ethereum smart contract platform on the Polkadot network. It makes it easy to build natively interoperable smart contracts and applications. And Moonbeam is the name of the Polkadot deployment, and Moonriver is the name of the Kusama deployment, which actually just finished its final phase of the launch process last Thursday. So really exciting news. We are celebrating that today with a launch party in just about 2 hours at 5 p.m. UTC. So we hope that you'll be able to join us for that. That will be on Twitter Spaces, and Kathy will post the link on the right. So that'll be featuring Derek, Alberto, and Katie, and there'll be time for Q&A and much more. So we hope that you'll join us. My name is Kevin Nielsen. I'm a developer relations engineer at Moonbeam, and today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Marek Kiricek. Marek is a blockchain engineer. He's a computer scientist and the founder of Ethworks, which is a long-standing Ethereum blockchain development firm, which has a long history in this space. And Ethworks has built a number of incredible tools for developers, including Waffle, which is a refined framework for testing your smart contracts. They've also built Mars, which is a deployment manager, and useDApp, which we'll be speaking about today, which is a React framework for making Ethereum development fast, smooth, and efficient. So all these tools are available for you today to work with and develop on Moonriver. And again, the title of our workshop today is called Rapid DApp Development on Moonbeam with useDApp. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Marek.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you for introduction, and thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure. I want to say, as Kevin said, we are part of the Ethereum community for over 4 years now, and it's been a great journey. And well, one question you might ask is, what are we doing here on Polkadot/Moonbeam Workshop? And the answer is, we're very excited about the whole Polkadot ecosystem, and especially about the Moonbeam, because it's super interesting blockchain from our perspective, because, well, obviously it uses EVM like Ethereum does. And we think it's very important that we have more of those EVM blockchains, especially those built on solid base like Moonbeam is, with the great technology under the hood. And today I would like to talk about useDApp, which is the framework. As Kevin said, it's a framework for building DApps. It's a typical front-end framework, and it allows you to rapidly build your DApps, or, well, any EVM blockchain, or many EVM blockchains, and including Moonriver, and in the future also Moonbeam and other related blockchains. So I'll start with a simple question. What could be possibly so hard about building the DApp frontend that you need a specific framework, right? We already have so many different frameworks. We already have React, we already have Angular, we already have Vue, and so many others. And why not just take one of those and start building on top of that? And why not just, do a queries to the blockchain node and, build your front end like you would for any other backend application? Well, it turns out that there is a lot of those really annoying little problems that you have when you work with, in particular with blockchain building DApps. And we would know, because over those 4 years, we tried it all. We tried React, we tried combining with Redux, we tried RxJS, we tried even domain-driven development, domain-driven design to build our front-end applications. And every time we figure out, hey, we're building something simple here. Why the code is so complex, right? And with Redux, it would be stores and actions and sagas. With Rx, it would be more and more sequencing more and more of those complex operations together. Then again, we are doing fairly simple stuff. So what is it? What is it that is so annoying? So it turns out that DApps have this specific. None of those problems is really like huge problems, but there is just a lot of those little problems, a lot of those little features, a lot of those good UX practices that you want to put into the application. And when you start combining it all together, it becomes kind of complex and somewhat complex. And I'll start with simple things, right? When the user arrives in the application for the very first time in July, is they want to browse a little bit, look, what the APIs are, if it's a DApp file, what are the different NFTs, if it's an NFT application. And the very bad practice would be to ask user to connect with his wallet first, right? So what you want to deliver to the user is this read-only, out of the box read-only mode when users can browse and see how things work, right? And then and then, yeah, Kevin.
I was just going to say, sometimes, right, when you first go to a blockchain DApp and you've never visited before, right, and the MetaMask pops up immediately, it's kind of intrusive, right? You're not really sure what it's requesting. Does it want to, what's it going to do with your MetaMask? And so the read-only part does sound very important.
Exactly, and we build it, we annoy users and so on, right? And we use all these different applications and we saw the difference. Then the other challenge is to show the current state. And it sounds like a simple thing again, but then the state can change every time a new block arrives, let's say on Ethereum every 15 seconds or so. And it's really getting hard to, updating all those different items on the website, which on the page, which has changed. Do I query everything? If I query every 15 seconds, query all the different items, that's a lot of queries to the backend, which is going to make your the Infura or Alchemy or whatever you're using as a node, that bill gonna grow, and the user experience gonna deteriorate because a lot of calls takes a lot of time, and you might end up showing inconsistent state, which consists partially of values from one block and partially values from another block, which is yet another problem, right? And so you want to keep the amount of requests in check, and you want to be able to show consistent but most current state. And then there is a lot of those little things like switching wallets. When you switch wallet, you probably want to refresh the UI again. And some websites realize that by refreshing the whole UI, but then you're usually losing the whole state. So you were switching, you were doing your whatever swap on your favorite exchange, and you realize you're connected to the wrong wallet. You change the wallet, the whole page refreshes, you lose the state, you lose the page you were on, you lose the amounts you wanna exchange, and so on. Right? So not good UX at all. And then switching networks, it's kind of the same thing when you want to use maybe Moonbeam or Moonriver and switch from one to another, or you want to go to Ethereum and go for another one. And actually, if you go to Ethereum documentation, it explicitly says that when you're switching networks, you should refresh the page because it's so complex to understand, to refresh individual values. But as you will see, it's not necessary anymore. And then tracking transaction, it feels like simple thing, like the transaction was mined, successful, maybe it failed. It seems like a simple thing, right? You write a little bit of code, one line after the other, waiting for events to happen. But then it's getting more complex. You want to have the history of your events. You want to be able to handle all the different states, not only pending success and fail. There are actually more states that might need to be tracked. And you want to show those notifications, like, so if user goes to one place and then jump to another place, you want to show, and the transaction that he initiated 5 minutes ago get mined, you want to show it, right? And again, it sounds like a simple feature, but then if you refresh the page or you open it in the different window, you still want this thing to work, which is adding a lot of complexity, right?
It's very important, and you want to be able to with people speeding up transactions or increasing the fee, we need to be able to update that state as well.
It's true, and yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit more about it later as well. So that's a good point, Kevin. So don't let me forget about this one. So that's why we build the useDApp. Really, we just want to build a framework for rapid DApp development. When you focus on building your front end, not all the different little annoying things. And it works for plenty of different EVM, and starting, well, this Sunday, it works for Moonriver. It doesn't work for Moonbeam yet, but as you will see, it's going to be very small change to add Moonbeam support as well.
And Moonbeam will be live, later this year. So it's still in, Moonriver is the main.
Exactly. We picked the one network that was already production, but as you will see, adding new networks is really easy. It's just iterating over, what's the name of the network, what the chain ID, what is the explorer, address, and so on. So, and yeah, good design is opinionated. So we didn't want to build it from scratch. We didn't want to come with our own ideas. We build on things that people are using quite extensively already in the Ethereum space. So we're using React, that is the most popular front-end framework by far. We're using Ethers, which is the most popular library for connecting to Ethereum nodes by far. We're using Web3 React for managing the connection state, which is, again, the most popular one by far. And Waffle, if you want to write tests, is also a very popular framework that you can use to actually test your hooks, test your front-end stuff in connection with smart contracts, so kind of write the integration tests. So what are the features? We really have only 3 major features: connection management, reading the blockchain state, and transaction. What we do is we try to get those features to make them work really, really well so that you can just use them and build great user experience. So starting with connection. So the way the connection works is first you get read-only connection out of the box. And second, automatically when you switch networks, everything works. You don't need to worry about it. You just use the standard framework primitives and it kind of works. And the feature that is coming, it already works. I can switch networks easily, but with new reality, with layer 2, with cross-chain, with all those applications that serve bridges and other stuff. What we want to be able to do in the near future is be able to connect to multiple networks at the same time and switch when we're switching the wallet, we are interacting with a different network, but the read-only stuff is always available there. So here is an example application. It's really just a few lines of code to get it started. You need to write a small configuration file. The configuration file is just needed for the read-only mode. We need to tell what is the read-only chain and what is the address. Here is an example for Ethereum. By the end of the presentation, I will show some examples on Moonriver as well. So don't get impatient, right? So all we need to do is have this small piece of configuration, and then we have this DApp provider, which is like a React component that you wrap your application into and gives you all those features I'm going to talk about are injected with this DApp provider. With that, we can write our app. And here is a very simple app. What it does, it allows you to, connect to the wallet, connect to the wallet. But before you are connected to the wallet, it will allow you to already read information. So in this case, we are reading the balance of the user that is connected. So not much yet used when you're not when you're in the read-only mode. But just to show you how it works, we have this hook called useEthers. So it's important to understand what the hooks are in React, and I assume a lot of you guys know what they do. But for those who are joining here for the first time, really learning about how to build front ends from blockchain, I just do a very quick explanation that a hook is a function that can return a number of variables, a number of states, something we intended to do. But the important difference between normal function and a hook is that it takes care of refreshing. So of refreshing your component. So there might be different situation when you want to refresh your component. In our case, everything that I already mentioned, like you change your wallet, the new block override, and so on, right? So you don't need to worry about refresh. You just use useEthers function, and it has those two things that it returns, and one is the account. So the current account might be null if you're not connected to the wallet, and activate browser wallet, which is a function that you can use to request user to connect to the wallet. And then we're only doing this, right? We have this button connect. If you click on the button, it will ask your MetaMask or whatever your wallet is to connect. It will pop up. And if Ether balance is not null, it will format it nicely and display it. As simple as that. This is very much simple working application, right? And here is how it could look like. This is an example application. In this case, it shows the balance. In this particular case, we're showing the balance of each two staking contract on Ethereum 1, and we're not connected with the read-only mode, right? So, yeah, when we hit the connect button, we can start connecting and show actually the Ether balance of the specific wallet that you connected to. The reading from the blockchain. So, and by the way, guys, if I'm showing the Ethereum example, don't worry, the Moonriver examples are coming. So, reading blockchain. So again, it seems reading blockchain is easy, but then there are all those annoying things. So the way the useDApp solves those problems is again with hooks, because the hooks takes care of all the refreshing. We give you auto refresh on every block, and we give you auto refresh on every wallet change. And what is super important is what useDApp is doing is they are taking all those different places in your application that display all the different data. So something might be a balance or a value that was a call to a smart contract or whatever else, and it keeps querying the node, asking every few seconds, hey, is the new block coming? Is the new block coming? Is the new, oh, there is a new block. Now I'm gonna refresh it, but I ain't gonna do multiple calls for every single item. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all those items, squash them into a single multi-call, and make a single call to a blockchain. And when the values arrive, it's gonna be distributed in the different places in the user interface, right? So it's only one call every few seconds for checking the new block, and there is a single call to refresh every single item there, right? So we don't need to worry about it. It just works out of the box. And here is an example. We have this use Ether balance. Yeah, Kevin, I think you want to ask
sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a lighter weight, way to do things and less resource intensive, right? By combining these multiple calls and only updating what you have to update.
Exactly. So there is under the hood, there is like a queue or an RI or what you call it, collection of all the different things that are displayed at the moment, right? So, imagine implementing that manually. That's quite a lot of work, right? So we have this use Ether balance, which is taking the balance of the native token. We should probably rename it to use native balance or something, now that we have support for Moonriver and other EVM blockchains. So, and it returns the balance. Again, it always returns the most recent balance, and you don't need to worry about, any refreshing or anything like that, right? We have use letters that we already know, which is the account. We have user balance that we already seen, right? So this is a little bit more extended example that we've seen before. And yeah, let's see. And in this example, this screenshot differs from the previous one in a sense that you can see the connected state, right? And you didn't really just for comparison, this is read-only state, and this is the already connected to the wallet state, right? We have specific account that we connected with, and we have specific Ether balance over there. And so one question that might occur, okay, we know how to query the balance, but I want to query all the different functions in the smart contract. So it's really easy. What you probably want to do though is create your own hook, like use token balance. This hook is actually available in the library, but if you want to do any other custom hook, all you need to do is use contract call hook, and it takes 4 arguments. So it takes the API interface of the smart contracts, it takes the address of the smart contract, it takes the name of the function, and it takes the list of arguments for the function call, and that's really it. And you can create any call contract that you want, and it's going to have all those magical features with refreshing and whatnot. So what's next? Transactions. So to track transaction state, is a little bit more complex than it seems, but then we have this history and notifications, right? So I give you an example here you send a simple transaction. It's a very simple hook. Use send transaction, which allows you to send either or mover transaction, and it has a it takes as an argument just a transaction, which is just a set of fields like to, value, could be also a bunch of other things like nouns and data, and it seems simple, but the nice thing that it does is it returns the state, and the state can be one of many, right? It can be none, which means no transaction was initiated yet. It can be mining, it's still happening. It can be a success, transaction was mined, and can be failed, transaction failed to be mined. And there is one more state that many people forget about, which is exception, which happens when something wrong happens in the application or the user cancels application in the wallet, like in MetaMask. And what is really cool about it is you get this variable called state here at the top in the line 1, and it always gives you the right value, right? So again, you're not waiting for anything. You don't need to worry about refresh when the transaction state change. All you do is you write your simple front-end code and say, if state is this, show this. If state is that, show that, right? You don't need to think about waiting and exception handling and all that stuff. So here is an example application that sends a little bit of Ether. And yeah, I'm going to show you it live in a moment. And here is an example application. Here is an example code. It's a little bit more complex. Instead of sending Ether, it actually calls a function. So in this case, we're going to be wrapping and unwrapping Ether. So into wrapped Ether and from wrapped Ether back into Ether. And you can see you can use use contract function, which is a hook that will return a state, and a send function. And the send function takes all the same arguments that a smart contract would take. And there is additional one argument that allows you to override transaction values, right? So in first case, we're just sending a new transaction, which gonna call a withdraw function, which gonna unwrap the Ether, and it takes just one parameter, which is the amount of Ether, the amount of VAE that we wanna unwrap. And then we have reverse operation when we wanna deposit some Ether, so we create some wrapped Ether, and then again it returns the state and it returns the send method. The deposit method doesn't have any arguments, so there's just one additional argument, and we specify the value of transaction, so how much value we want to pass on to this function call. Yeah, so, and we have these two additional hooks, which is use transaction and use notification, and what those hooks do is they gives you the list of all the transactions that was made by the user. It's stored in local storage, so if you refresh, if you close and reopen, it's going to be still there. Obviously, if you go to another browser or another computer, it ain't going to be there. And you have use notification, which happens every time a transaction state change or you connect a new wallet, and it's just an array of those events that happen, and this array will the items in this array will automatically disappear after a few or a dozen or 2 dozen of seconds. It's configurable, so you just iterate over it and display it in the UI. Again, you don't need to know about local storage. You don't need to know about tracking state changes or anything. You literally just display notifications with all the necessary items in there. And we have a browser plugin, so it is a little bit tricky what useDApp is doing under the hood. So there is a plugin built by Piotr Szlachciak, and he built a plugin that shows you kind of what happens under the hood, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. But you know, it kind of works if you know how the inspect work or React plugins. It kind of shows you what happens under the hood, and you can see, for example, all the events when you switch networks. You can see, okay, mainnet connected. You know, when new things show up, new items from the blockchain are shown in the user interface. You can see one new call. When you change the page and some things are not visible anymore and some other things are visible, you can see calls updated. There is one less call in our queue, right? And when the new when the new blocks arise, when the new state changes arise, when the multi-calls return, and you distribute all these things, everything is shown in the plugin, so you can track and see what's going on.
And without the plugin, most of that information is hidden, right? It's kind of like abstracted away between the application and the wallet.
Exactly. And yeah, there's yeah. So I want to show you a few other things. So that was the presentation. So I'll start. I will start with the elephant in the room. Marek, why are you always talking about Ethereum? Please talk about Moonriver. So here we come. This is very fresh. We just added the support for Moonriver this Sunday. So let us know if everything works. If something doesn't work, don't get angry. We didn't test it enough. But here is a great tutorial that we just published like half an hour ago or so. It was written by Jacob Dawson, and it's really beginner tutorial. You don't really need to know much about Moonriver, Polkadot ecosystem, or even EVM that much. It takes you step by step. What's Polkadot? What's Kusama? What's Moonbeam? And what's Moonriver? How to set up your wallet, and all the way through into creating the first project and kind of making a simple UI. Started with connecting, showing some information from the blockchain and so on. So feel free to go there. It's also a first tutorial, and Jacob is only getting into the space and doesn't know that much about Moonriver yet. So if there are any mistakes, anything is not perfect, let us know, we're gonna fix it. And yeah, Jacob was working really hard for the last few days to be on time. So shout out to Jacob for great work.
I can't wait to try it out.
And there is here we have an example application. Just go to example.useDApp.io. I am actually connected to Moonriver right now. And you can see, well, there's no ETH staking contract, so not much shown here, but I can connect, disconnect. It was in the background here for a while, so we can see there was a lot of those network updates. Here, not many things changed, but if I refresh the website, you can see, okay, it's connected to the mainnet, in this case, Moonriver, and this is the ID of the chain. This is the account that is connected to. There are two calls. So one call is that call, another call is that call. The account is not a call. That's a Glover Barber, right? And if I go to another website, you can see -2 calls updated because there is actually 0 things that we show right now. If I go back again, you can see 2 more calls are updated, right? And there is, you can click through it, play around with it, and it's a good way to kind of start and looking how to work with the useDApp. And yeah, I wanted to show you one more thing. So we currently have only support for Moonriver from the Moonbeam ecosystem. But I just want to show you, if you want to add support for Moonbeam, for Canary Network, for anything else, I just want to show you, it's a very simple pull request. You basically state what the name of the network is. Then you need to add a multi-call address. So the multi-call is a smart contract. You need to have deployed smart contract. It was already deployed on Moonriver, so I didn't have to do anything. I just found it here and put the address here. And then you have to specify, you know, what are the addresses for the blockchain explorers, because there are some functions that allow you to, you know, put those nice things, put it on the list of default networks, and that's pretty much it. The rest is just simple tests for testing those, testing those functions that was modified above. So guys, that is kind of all I wanted to show you. And yeah, I think we can go to questions.
Yeah, so definitely have a few questions, and just one follow-up. So you, in your example, you displayed the, did we lose you? Marek, I think you stopped screen sharing.
Yeah, we lost him for a second.
Okay.
Let's see if I can reconnect him with him.
Sure. So the question I was just going to ask is that in the example, we're displaying a live price, and I was believe that's through the coin. Oh, hey, Marek.
Yes.
No problem. So in your example, you displayed, I think, an Ethereum price, and I was just wondering, is that coming from the CoinGecko API, or is okay? Cool.
Sure.
And,
so let me explain a little bit more here. So we're really focusing. There is a core useDApp library that focus on those three things: connecting, reading, and writing. But we're adding those plugins, and people are, we already have a small community. The useDApp is growing really nicely. Just to give you an example, we just started, I think we launched it on March and April, but no big launch, just soft launch. We put it out there, we put it on Twitter, and people start using it. And there's already a small community of people committing, and people just add those plugins, which are like additional NPMs, not part of the core, like give me CoinGecko price, give me Uniswap price, give me this price, give me that price. So I really hope there's going to be more of those kind of things, and people will like the idea of having those hooks that just give you stuff and you don't need to know anything about anything, right?
Oh, absolutely. There will be more. Yeah, and they just need to submit a pull request, right?
Absolutely.
Very, very cool. So taking a step back, you've been in the space for a long time, and I could be wrong, but many people start their kind of blockchain and cryptocurrency journey by coming in through Bitcoin. Was that the case for you, or did you kind of start in the Ethereum space?
Absolutely. I was aware of Bitcoin, I think, as early as 2013, and kind of bought my first Bitcoin and play around. But really, I was a little bit disappointed with Bitcoins in a sense. There was a lot of people talking about, the promise, scalability, and whatnot. And I really didn't see that going through, right? And I kind of lost interest. And by accident, 4 or 5 years ago, I stumbled upon Ethereum and I said, hey, this is a cool environment when people are experimenting with different things. And, that has a good potential. I don't see how it's going to scale. There was some talking about sharding and different things, and you could believe it or not. But it's a community that is building, right? And it gets me very excited. And I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not a Ethereum maximalist. I think, there is a place for at least a few different big blockchains. And what I'm seeing now in the Polkadot space is the same kind of thing that I've seen on the Ethereum a few years ago, when there is not so much things really working, but there's so much different people building and experimenting with new ideas. So that is one of the things, that makes us super excited when Moonbeam get in touch, and we, done different things about Waffle, Mars, and now we're talking about useDApp. It got us really excited because we think, the blockchain is not there yet. It's not the final form, and we need those experimentation. We need those things, and we hope we're gonna do much more in the Polkadot and Moonbeam space.
Absolutely. And it's exciting to bring new people into the DeFi and the DeFi space, and also into onboarding them onto DApps, right? That they can use. And it's painful to me when I'm trying to introduce somebody to something and then say, here, you can do this, but it's going to cost you about $50, and maybe you don't want to. So why is it important that if we're trying to bring more users in, that we can kind of introduce some ways for them to get involved, or maybe open up some new use cases that maybe wouldn't be possible on Ethereum, like layer 1.
Absolutely. I think there is a lot of space for many blockchains. What I see, and I ain't gonna name anything specific. We have a lot of those EVM copycats of Ethereum with really questionable security. So Moonbeam is different here. Moonriver is different here in the sense it connects to Kusama, or Moonbeam in the future to Polkadot. And we're really happy to see serious attempts to do so. And, for the security reasons, I think there's only place for a few big blockchains in the world. And we absolutely think that, Bitcoin's going to be there, Ethereum going to be there, and our huge bet is on Polkadot and Moonbeam here as well, right? So that's really exciting. And, being so early here with you guys, it's very exciting. I want to add, that useDApp is a little bit different than other technologies we built in the past, like Waffle and Mars, in the sense that Waffle and Mars are really advanced stuff for like hardcore smart contract developers, people who have problems with deployment. useDApp is very different. useDApp is a simple tool. Any front-end developer that uses React and have basic understanding of hooks can build front ends really quickly and good front ends. So we really hope, useDApp gonna, and we see a lot of growth, even though we didn't do a lot of marketing. We didn't really go out much yet talking about useDApp. It's actually, I think, my second or third presentation about useDApp this year. We see a lot of interest. So we really hope useDApp gonna help ecosystems like Moonbeam and Moonriver to grow and more people get into space and have this smoother curve when they start with front end, they play around for a few months, and only after that they go into smart contracts and other things, instead of kind of what was so far when people really start hacking oftentimes from smart contracts or build those front ends, but they were not really good, so it was not ideal too.
Are there any features on the roadmap that you can give a hint or share with us that maybe coming?
Absolutely. Everything was already spoiled, I want to say. But we're working on this multi-chain thing. I think it's going to come out this fall. We've been in a little bit lazy mode over the holidays, over the last 2 months. So we hope we're going to get back to work in September. And you hinted correctly, what about transaction replacement? So this is actually a little bit harder than it seems. What we wanted to build initially is actually a feature that allows you to speed up transactions. That turns out to be impossible because MetaMask will override whatever you say. So now we actually discovered in one of those projects that useDApp that someone implemented themselves replacement discovery. So this is a small feature that we're looking forward to build. And there is a small feature that we just built already. I've seen on presentation, it was still to become. You can easily obtain the events from the transaction, which is yet another super annoying problem when you want to. Anyone who ever tried to get events with ethers, it's like you need to write those loops and figure that and parse the content and everything. Now you just get a list of events that were emitted. So again, very simple. But other than that, I think we're really close to being feature complete in this core functionality. So there are small things now that, with the new AI piece and everything, we need to do some updates as well. But we really want to keep it small, and we see more functionality coming to the plugins.
The work you're doing is absolutely so exciting, and making it easier for people to build applications faster, and making sure that it seems like you're catering to both audiences, right? You're catering to advanced users who are very sophisticated, but you're also catering to people who are new and maybe working on their first DApp, right? So you have something for everybody.
I think useDApp is unique in this way. Yeah.
And I think if we have any more questions in the chat, please, go ahead and ask your questions. I think that most of the questions that we've had have already been answered. So I just say kind of last call for any questions. Go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll go from there.
I don't see more questions coming, but the good news is that this event is going to be in our YouTube channel, or you guys can come back and use the same link to rewatch it.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Marek, for coming today, and for sharing the demos, and for the whole presentation. It was wonderful. And really, really glad to have you as part of the community, and hope to speak with you again soon.
It was a pleasure to be here, Kevin. Thank you for inviting me, and we're looking forward to do many more things together in the future.